November 30th, 1998. Night. Baiyin City, China. 23-year-old Kui walks home from her shift at the fluoride salt factory. She doesn't know someone is watching her. The next morning, her mother will enter this apartment. What she sees will haunt her for the rest of her life. Her daughter's body lies on the floor. 22 stab wounds, both breasts cut off, both hands severed, reproductive organs carved out. At that same moment, just a few blocks away, a quiet grocery store owner washes his hands. He goes home to his wife and children. He lies down to sleep. On his hands is the blood of 11 victims. The youngest was only 8 years old. His wife will sleep next to him for 18 more years. She doesn't know she shares a bed with one of the most brutal serial killers in Asian history. August 26, 2016. 52-year-old Gao Chengyong is arrested at his workplace. When his wife is asked if she suspected anything, she breaks down in tears. "I still cannot believe it," she says. She described him as quiet, reliable, and honest. 28 years he remained invisible, 14 years of terror, 11 victims, and not a single suspicion. This is the story of Gao Chengyong, China's Jack the Ripper. November 10th, 1964. A boy is born in Qingcheng, a small town in Yuzhong County, Gansu Province, northwestern China. His name is Gao Chengyong. Gansu is one of China's poorest regions. Winters are brutal, temperatures dropping well below freezing. Opportunities are scarce. His childhood is unremarkable. He is quiet, emotionally distant, withdrawn. When his father becomes paralyzed, Gao cares for him. Neighbors see him as a dutiful son. As a teenager, Gao dreams of becoming a pilot. He wants to escape the poverty around him. He takes the entrance exams. He fails. He later claims he was wronged for political reasons, that he was greatly wronged. Whether true or not, the rejection changes something inside him. Anger begins to fester, rage that he never expresses outwardly, but carries silently for years. He marries a woman named Zhang Qingfeng against her family's advice. They warned her not to marry him, sensing something they couldn't name. But she is attracted to his quietness, his reliability, his honesty. Together they move to the industrial city of Baiyin and open a small grocery store. In 1988, their first son is born. Gao becomes a father. To everyone around him, he seems like an ordinary shopkeeper trying to support his family. That same year, while his wife is home with their newborn baby, Gao Chengyong commits his first murder. Baiyin in the late 1980s is a city built on copper mines and metal factories. The name means silver, but copper is what keeps the economy alive. Life is tough here. The air is dry and dusty. Sand constantly blows through the streets. Drinking water has to be trucked in from the Yellow River. Despite harsh conditions, this is a tightly knit community. Everyone knows their neighbors. Doors are often left unlocked during the day. Children move freely between apartments. Men play chess in courtyards. Women knit and talk on stairways. People feel safe. May 26, 1988. Around 3 in the afternoon, a 23-year-old woman named Bai returns home to her residence on Yongfeng Street. She works at the Baiyin non-ferrous metal company and lives with her family in staff accommodation. She lies down to rest after her shift. That evening, her body is discovered. Her throat is cut open with a sharp blade. Upper body exposed, breasts bare, lower body completely naked. 26 stab wounds cover her torso. The violence is extreme, personal, filled with rage. Fingerprints are found at the scene, but they don't match anyone in the police database. Police investigate, but the trail goes cold quickly. There is no apparent motive, no witnesses, no suspect. After weeks with no progress, the case begins to fade from public attention. People convince themselves it was an isolated incident. Meanwhile, Gao Chengyong holds his newborn son in his arms. His wife sees only a good father and hard-working husband. She doesn't notice when he disappears for hours or days. When he returns with extra money, she assumes he's been doing odd jobs. 6 years pass in silence. July 27, 1994. 6 years after the first murder, Baiyin has almost forgotten about the case. Then it happens again. 19-year-old Shi works as a temporary employee at the Baiyin Power Supply Bureau. She lives alone in a small single-room dormitory provided by her employer. One morning, colleagues notice she hasn't come to work. This is unusual. Shi is known to be reliable. A supervisor goes to check on her. He opens the door and immediately recoils. Her throat has been slashed open. 36 stab wounds cover her upper body, far more than necessary to kill. The signature is identical to the 1988 murder: indoor attack, throat cut, excessive stabbing, sexual violence. Police now have 2 young women killed in exactly the same brutal way. But the crimes are 6 years apart, which makes investigators hesitant to officially link them. Without modern DNA technology, they cannot definitively connect them. There is still no suspect. DNA and fingerprints are collected and preserved, but technology in the mid-1990s is limited. The case stalls again. Gao's wife continues to notice his occasional disappearances, but she never questions him. He is her husband. She trusts him. 3 more years pass. March 28, 1997. The third victim is a 21-year-old woman named Li from Baotou City in Inner Mongolia, over 600 kilometers from Baiyin. This is the only murder that occurs outside Gansu province. Her body is found in an apartment in the Hondlon district. She is tied with rope, her movement completely restricted. A broom has been forced into her mouth. Her pants are removed, lower body exposed. Semen is found on her legs during autopsy. Her throat is cut, and she has multiple stab wounds. The pattern is now unmistakable to forensic experts: surprise attack indoors, binding or restraint, sexual assault, throat cutting, repeated stabbing, post-mortem humiliation. The killer is expanding his territory. He is becoming more confident. But connecting crimes across different provinces in 1990s China is extremely difficult. Communication between regional police departments is limited. DNA databases are still in their infancy. There is no centralized system for tracking serial offenders. The killer remains a ghost. By early 1998, Baiyin is facing mounting economic pressure. The copper mines are declining, production dropping year after year. Unemployment is rising. Anxiety spreads through working-class neighborhoods. The social fabric is fraying. And beneath the surface, a predator is preparing for the most violent phase of his killing spree. January 13, 1998. The fourth victim is a 29-year-old woman named Yang who lives in a residential building on Shengli Street. Her body is found in her own home. Her throat has been cut with brutal force. Multiple stab wounds cover her body. But this time the killer crosses a new threshold. Her ears have been cut off her head. A piece of scalp has been removed. The mutilation suggests he is taking trophies now, collecting souvenirs to remember his victims. He is no longer satisfied with just killing. The body isn't discovered until 3 days later, on January 16th. 6 days after Yang's murder on January 13th, the fifth victim is attacked. Her name is Deng. She is 27 years old and lives on Shuchuan Road. On January 19, 1998, she is murdered in her home. The pattern repeats with horrifying precision, throat slashed deep, heavy stabbing concentrated on the upper body. During the autopsy, pathologists make a disturbing discovery. Her left nipple has been bitten off. Additionally, a massive section of flesh, approximately 30 centimeters by 24 centimeters, has been carved from her back with a blade. In just 1 week, 2 women have been murdered and horrifically mutilated in the same city. Police can no longer deny the truth. The city has a serial killer actively hunting women. News of the murders spreads quickly through Baiyin. Women begin fundamentally changing their behavior. They refuse to walk alone, especially after dark. They insist on male escorts, husbands, fathers, brothers. Parents issue strict warnings to their daughters. Apartment doors that were once left open are now locked and chained. Fear settles over Baiyin. July 30th, 1998. Summer in Baiyin. An 8-year-old girl named Yao is home alone in her family's apartment. Her father works at the Baiyin Power Supply Bureau. He is at work. Her mother is out. The child is alone. Gao Chengyong breaks into the apartment. He later claims he entered to commit robbery, but when he sees the child alone and vulnerable, he attacks her. 8-year-old Yao is strangled to death with his bare hands. Her small body is hidden inside a closet. Semen is later found on her legs. She was sexually assaulted either during the attack or immediately after her death. She is 8 years old, a child. This is not just murder. It is the complete destruction of innocence and the shattering of every remaining sense of safety in the city. The killing of a child confirms what investigators are beginning to understand. This offender's violence is not driven by any rational motive. It is driven purely by desire and opportunity. Age is not a barrier. Once inside a home, he will attack whoever is there. The city descends into genuine terror. Police knock on doors in the middle of the night. Schools cancel all evening classes and activities. Every employee of the Baiyin Non-Ferrous Metal Company, thousands of workers, is fingerprinted in case the killer works there. Husbands and male colleagues establish escort systems to walk women home from work. Baiyin has become a city under siege. November 30th, 1998. The 7th victim is Kui, the 23-year-old factory worker whose story opened this documentary. Her murder is the one that will be remembered as the most shocking. 22 stab wounds across her body, both breasts cut completely off, both hands severed at the wrists, sexual organs carved out and removed from her body. The scene is so horrific that even veteran homicide detectives are deeply shaken. Her mother discovers the body, and her screams echo through the entire apartment building. The brutality is not just lethal, it sends a message. For residents of Baiyin, that message is clear. No home is safe, no lock is strong enough, no woman is off his list. While the city lives in absolute panic, Gao Chengyong continues his double life. During the day, he stands behind the counter of his grocery store. He weighs vegetables, counts change, serves customers. He goes home every evening to his wife, Zhang, and their 2 sons. To neighbors and shoppers, he is just another shopkeeper trying to survive in difficult times. Zhang later tells reporters she never suspected anything during all those years. She remembers him as reserved and quiet, but also steady and dependable. When he disappeared for days at a time, she didn't press him for explanations. When he returned with extra money, she assumed he'd been doing temporary work. It never occurred to her to question him more closely. When darkness fell, another side of him emerged. Police later conclude he stalked women during the day, watching them, following them to learn where they lived and when they'd be alone. Once he knew their routines, he waited for the right moment, then entered and attacked. The same hands that stocked rice and cooking oil were strangling women and carving their bodies apart. After the concentrated bloodbath of 1998, the pace slows, but the killing doesn't stop. November 20th, 2000. The eighth victim is a 28-year-old woman named Luo, an employee at the Baiyin cotton factory. She is killed in her home. Her throat is slashed, and both of her hands are cut off at the wrists. May 22nd, 2001. The ninth victim is a 27-year-old nurse named Zhang who works at the Baiyin District Maternal and Child Health Station. She is found in her apartment on Shuichuan Road, tied securely with rope. Her neck has been stabbed 16 times in what appears to have been a frenzied attack. The very next day, May 23, 2001, just 24 hours later, the 10th victim is attacked. Her name is Chan. She is only 21 years old and works at the Kai Hong Hotel. She is tied with rope and stabbed to death during a robbery attempt at her workplace. 2 murders in 2 consecutive days suggests the killer's control is slipping. February 5, 2002. The 11th and final victim is a 28-year-old woman named Zhu, a guest staying on the 3rd floor of the Taola Chun Hotel in Baiyin. She is strangled into unconsciousness first, then raped while unconscious or barely alive, and finally stabbed to death. Police determine this attack also occurred during an attempted robbery of the hotel room. After this murder, after 14 years of terror, after 11 victims, Gao Chengyong stops killing. He later explains to police interrogators that by 2002, he has reached the age of 38. He no longer feels he has the physical strength or stamina to continue overpowering victims. When asked why he killed, he simply tells investigators he just felt the need to kill someone during those years. 14 years of active killing are over. 11 victims, 11 families permanently destroyed. The city can finally breathe, but the killer is still free, still working in his grocery store, still sleeping beside his wife every night. 12 long years pass in silence. In 2004, 2 years after the last murder, police officially connect all 11 murders into a single series. They publicly acknowledge what many already suspect. The same person is responsible for all of them. A reward of 200,000 yuan, a substantial sum, is announced for information leading directly to the killer's capture. Posters go up across Baiyin and surrounding areas. The case is featured in national media. But there is still no name, no face, and no clear suspect. Investigators have physical evidence, fingerprints left at multiple crime scenes, semen samples recovered from victims' bodies, unknown male DNA extracted from biological material. But frustratingly, none of it matches anyone in existing police databases. The killer has no prior criminal record. He is not in the system. For more than a decade, the Baiyin murders remain what detectives call a cold case, evidence without a suspect, leads without answers. Officers who worked the original investigations retire, and new officers take over the files. The case is reviewed periodically, re-examined whenever new forensic techniques become available. But the families of the victims continue waiting for answers that never seem to come. Meanwhile, forensic science is advancing rapidly. DNA technology improves dramatically throughout the 2000s and 2010s. Methods for searching genetic databases to find not just direct matches, but also family relatives through shared DNA markers are developed and refined. What was impossible in the 1990s becomes routine in the 2010s. The question is not whether the killer left usable DNA evidence. He did. The question is when that DNA will finally lead police to his identity. Early 2016, a man in Gansu province is arrested for a minor, unrelated offense. As part of routine police procedure, officers collect his DNA sample and enter it into China's growing national criminal database. In most cases, this sample would sit quietly in the system. This time, it sets off alarm bells. Forensic analysts running routine comparisons notice that the new DNA profile shares significant genetic markers with the unknown profile taken years earlier from crime scenes in Baiyin. The match is not exact. This is not the killer himself, but it is extraordinarily close. The genetic similarities indicate a blood relative, most likely a first-degree relative, or possibly an uncle or nephew. Investigators immediately begin tracing the arrested man's family tree. They identify all male relatives who could potentially fit the age and location profile of the Baiyin killer. Men who were adults in 1988, who lived in or near Baiyin during the years the murders occurred, who would now be in their early 50s. Among the names that emerge, one stands out immediately. A 52-year-old man, a grocery store owner living in Baiyin, originally from Gansu province, present in the region during all the years the murders took place. No criminal record, quiet, unremarkable, invisible. His name is Gao Chengyong. Police begin discreet surveillance. They watch his daily movements, learn his routines. They need to be absolutely certain before making an arrest. Eventually, they obtain a sample of his DNA, reportedly through a discarded item. When the lab compares it to the crime scene DNA, the result is unambiguous. Perfect match. Every single genetic marker aligns. After 28 years of searching, China's most elusive serial killer finally has a name. August 26, 2016. The operation is carefully planned. Officers move in during daylight hours when the grocery store is open. They enter the small shop where Gao has worked for years. Regular customers are browsing. They step aside in confusion as police walk directly up to the counter. Gao Chengyong looks up from weighing produce. His face shows no emotion, no surprise, no fear. He doesn't fight. He doesn't shout. He doesn't ask what this is about. He simply stands still as they place him in handcuffs, as if he's been expecting this moment for 28 years. His wife watches from the doorway, confusion and panic spreading across her face. At the police station, confronted with overwhelming DNA evidence and detailed questions about the crimes, Gao confesses. He admits to 11 murders committed between 1988 and 2002. He describes in calm detail how he followed women, how he entered their homes, how he raped and killed them. He speaks of the 8-year-old girl. He admits to cutting open bodies and removing organs. He explains that he sometimes combined theft with murder, stealing valuables after the killings. China's Ministry of Public Security confirms his confession to all 11 murders. News of the arrest spreads quickly across the country. For Baiyin, there is grim relief mixed with horror. The murders that have haunted the city for decades finally have a face. And it's the face of the quiet grocery store owner. For the families of the victims, the emotions are far more complex. Relief that justice is finally coming, yes, but also a raw reopening of wounds that have never fully healed. For some, it has been 30 years since they lost a daughter, a sister, a mother. Gao's wife, Zhang Qingfeng, becomes the focus of intense media attention. She tells reporters about their 30-year marriage, about his quiet behavior at home, about how she cannot reconcile the man she loved with the crimes he confessed to. "I still cannot believe it," she repeats over and over. "I really still can't accept it." Her entire life story has been completely rewritten in a single devastating moment. July 2017. Gao Chengyong is brought to trial in the Baiyin Intermediate People's Court. The proceedings last 2 days. There is no dramatic defense. Gao pleads guilty to 11 counts of murder, as well as associated charges of rape and robbery. The court describes his motives as despicable, his methods as extremely cruel, and the nature of his acts as vile. Judges emphasize that he not only killed, but also mutilated bodies to satisfy his perverted desire to insult and desecrate the dead. The recorded details presented in court show a clear pattern of sexual sadism, humiliation, and calculated brutality spanning 14 years. Some victims were raped while still alive. Others were violated after death. Body parts were removed as trophies or thrown into the Yellow River to dispose of evidence. On March 30, 2018, after careful deliberation, the court announces its decision: death penalty. All of Gao's personal property is ordered confiscated. There will be no appeal. The verdict is final. For the Chinese justice system, the case is clear. For the victims' families, the verdict is both a conclusion they've waited decades for and a painful reminder of everything they lost. January 3, 2019. At the age of 54, Gao Chengyong is executed. The exact method is not publicly disclosed. The man who spent 14 years hunting women and 16 years hiding in plain sight is gone. From his first known murder in 1988 to his execution in 2019, more than 30 years pass. 11 victims, 11 lives cut brutally short, 11 families forever carrying the weight of loss. A city that spent years living in fear and decades waiting for answers. Today, Baiyin is a much quieter place than it was in its industrial heyday. The copper mines that once defined it are largely exhausted. Many of the younger generation have left to find work in bigger cities. The streets where women once feared to walk alone are no longer under the same dark shadow. But the memory remains, especially among those who lived through the 1990s and early 2000s. For them, the story of Gao Chengyong is not just another true crime case. It is a lesson in how an entire community can be terrorized by someone who looks ordinary, speaks softly, and sells groceries to his neighbors. It is a reminder that a man can be a caring son who tends to his paralyzed father, a hard-working shopkeeper who serves his community, a husband and father who sits down to dinner with his family every evening, and still carry out acts of unimaginable cruelty when no one is watching. Gao's capture also demonstrates how advances in forensic science can reach back into the past. A drop of semen left on a victim's leg in 1988, a partial fingerprint on a wall, DNA technology that didn't exist when the crimes were committed, a sample taken from a relative decades later. All of these pieces finally came together to reveal the man behind the crimes. In the end, the story of China's Jack the Ripper is about more than one serial killer and his victims. It is about trust and betrayal, fear and resilience, technology and time. It is about the gap between how people appear and who they truly are. And it is about a city that learned, in the hardest way possible, that evil can live right behind the counter of the shop where you buy your daily bread. What do you think? Could you recognize a monster hiding in plain sight? Write your thoughts in the comments below.